All right, let the voting begin. The polls are now open across the state in Connecticut's municipal elections. Connecticut's news station has live team coverage.
I'm Angelo Bavaro in Bridgeport this morning with more details about how today's election is going to work in the shadow of allegations of ballot box stuffing during the primary.
Well, here in Hartford, a new mayor is set to be elected today. I'll have a breakdown of the choices you have as voters coming up next.
All local, all morning. This is Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
Good morning. It is Election Day Tuesday. We're glad you're here with us at 6. I'm Erica Arias.
And I'm Tim Lammers. Good morning to you. Yes, polls have just opened now across Connecticut for municipal elections, and they will stay open until 8 o'clock tonight.
And we're going to have much more on the races up for grabs today in just a few minutes. First, though, before you head out to cast your vote, we're checking in with meteorologist Matt Thud.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Happy Tuesday.
Good
Happy
morning.
Election Day. Let's get you to the polls. Even with a little rain to deal with this morning, it's not a long-lasting thing throughout the day. We are turning the temperature corner, though, as we look for unsettled forecast over the next couple of days. And we'll talk about that coming up. Radar-wise, here's what we've got on the big picture. We've got a little bit of activity, mainly south and east of 84. It's a little drizzly up towards Hartford, but as you go down to the shoreline, there's a little more steady rain from West Haven over the Pearl Harbor Memorial Bridge over into East Haven and Brantford, and another patch, Brantford up Route 79 to not quite into Durham just yet. You can see this moving due east, and behind it off towards the west. There's not much to worry about, so that's good news. We'll deal with a little rain this morning, and that should be it for the day. 54 is fairly mild thanks to the thick clouds in Hartford. 59 is not bad at all in New Haven. 58 not far behind in Groton. Here's the guidance through the morning period. You see by about 7:30, 8 o'clock, we're just about done with this. We'll push it out through New London by about 9, 10 o'clock, and the rest of the day should be dry. So your planner for today, looking at temperatures fairly mild, getting into the low to mid 60s later on today with a southwesterly wind about 5 to 15 miles an hour. We'll get some sun late as the polls begin to settle down and close. Coming up, speaking of settle down, the temperatures will be settling down thanks to some other messy potential later on this week. We'll talk about that coming up. Let's see what kind of messy potential is on the roads right now. First time this morning, I get to say hello to Rachel Piscatelli. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Matt. Following a couple of issues on 95 this morning over by... There we go. All right, we are following a couple of issues on 95 this morning over in Fairfield and also out by Greenwich on the northbound side of 95. These are two jackknife tractor trailers blocking several lanes. So this is out by exit 5 over in Greenwich. So we are seeing some delays building in the area. And also if you're traveling northbound 95 over in Fairfield, this is out by exits 19 and 20. The center and the left lanes are closed due to a jackknife tractor trailer. Taking a look at the 95 southbound, though, Bridgeport to Fairfield, it's slow at 9 minutes. I do expect to see those delays continuing to build in the area. Trumbull to Westport on the Merritt Parkway, you're looking at a 13-minute drive. Tim and Erica.
Rachel, thanks so much. All right, 6:03 now, and the polls are now open. Voters have a lot of decisions to make on who will lead their communities next year.
Now, Election Day in Bridgeport is coming with a whole lot of confusion in the wake of what appears to be a ballot scandal because a judge ordered a complete redo of the Democratic mayoral primary, claiming there was a lot of mishandling of absentee ballots. Fox 61's Angelo Bavaro is live in Bridgeport with more on how that order affects today's vote, because today, Angelo, is not the primary.
Tim, Erica, good morning. Right now we are at Black Rock School. This is where incumbent Mayor Joe Ganim is expected to cast his ballot at 6:30 this morning, so in just about 30 minutes. Now, what we do know is that today's election is happening as normal, but what happens after that, that is still up in the air. The details still murky about that, given the fact that a judge has ordered a redo of the primary, the Democratic primary. Still waiting on more details about how that's going to work. But the Office of the Secretary of the State says it does expect to release more details about that process at some point today. So today, voters in Bridgeport, they will see 4 candidates for mayor on that ballot. Take a look. Those are incumbent Mayor Joe Ganim, John Gomes, who filed to run as an independent after losing the primary, Republican David Hurst, and Independent Lamont Daniels. Now, in that original Democratic primary, Ganim defeated Gomes by 251 votes. The Gomes campaign later sued the city, demanding a new primary after obtaining and sharing surveillance video of possible illegal ballot box stuffing. A judge ultimately siding with Gomes, agreeing to throw out the primary results and ordering a new contest. All of this controversy really putting the security of those absentee ballots under lots of scrutiny in recent weeks leading up to today's election. Secretary of the State, Stephanie Thomas, responding to those concerns.
And study after study after study has shown that we're talking about like 0.0000001% of cases of fraud. And what I like to remind people about the Bridgeport case, this isn't the first year we've seen a case. So there was a case in 2017, 2019, again this year. So drop boxes, non-drop boxes, absentee ballots. Sometimes you just have to close one loophole, which is very different from changing an entire system.
But still, this absentee ballot scandal has put Bridgeport on the map for all the wrong reasons. It's become an example in right-wing circles for stolen elections, prompting comments from Elon Musk and also former President Donald Trump as well. Now, an election monitor has been appointed to oversee today's election here in Bridgeport. That person is Peggy Reeves, who is a former state lawmaker and a state election director. We are live in Bridgeport this morning. I'm Angelo Bavaro, Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
All right, Angelo, thanks so much. We'll, of course, check back throughout the morning. Meantime, at 6:06, voters in the capital city are choosing their next mayor today.
Yeah, Fox 61's Brooke Griffin is live in Hartford with more on that race and what you need to know if you're going out to vote. Brooke.
Well, the polls are now open across the state, including here at the Learning Center in Hartford. Now, you can't really tell because my umbrella is blocking that, but there have been a few people that are already out and about this morning coming in to cast that vote. Of course, there's several races that we are watching today here in the capital city, but the main one is that mayoral race after the current mayor, Luke Bronin, has decided to step down after 2 terms. Now, there are 6 candidates on that ballot today. Democrat Arunan Arumalampulam, Republican Michael McGarry, and 4 unaffiliated or independent candidates, Mark Stewart Greenstein, Giselle Jacobs, Nick LeBron, and J. Stan McCauley. The polls are open until 8 o'clock tonight. Now, before you head out, there are a few key things that you want to keep in mind. Anyone who is already standing in line at that closing time of 8 o'clock is allowed to stay and cast their vote. You do not need an ID with you as long as you are already registered, and even if you're not registered, you can still cast your vote today. Connecticut state law allows you to register to vote on Election Day at the polling location closest to your home address, but you will need identification for that. So you don't need it if you're just coming out and you're already registered, but if you are not registered, you are going to need an ID for that today. Keep that in mind. Now, again, they are open until 8 o'clock this evening. If you're not really sure where to go, maybe you haven't voted here in Connecticut or you've recently moved, head over to fox61.com or even go over to our app. We have all of the information you need to know over there. Live in Hartford, Brooke Griffin, Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
Brooke, thank you. Okay, let's get you up to date on some other mayoral races, including the one in Derby that's gotten some national attention. The current mayor, Republican Richard Zekin, is running as an independent after losing the Republican primary by just a handful of votes to the party-endorsed candidate, Gino DiGiovanni Jr. Thing is, DiGiovanni is also still facing federal charges after being accused of taking part in the January 6th Capitol riots. Meanwhile, Joseph DiMartino, who lost to Zekin by just 48 votes in 2021, is the Democratic pick.
In New Haven, 2-term incumbent Mayor Justin Elicker is being challenged by Tom Goldenberg, who is a registered Democrat, but is going to show up on the Republican and independent party lines after being cross-endorsed. Independent petitioning candidate Wendy Hamilton will also be on the ballot.
To get our comprehensive voter guide with everything you need to know, just text one word, VOTE, to 860-527-6161. From candidate information to where your polling place is, we've got it all there, along with the voter guide and all the coverage of the big stories of the day. That's on the free Fox 61 News app and on fox61.com.
And in Meriden, the City Council accepting the resignation of City Manager Timothy Kuhn. It's set to take effect on January 1st, and until then, the City Manager is going to be on administrative leave. This comes amid 2 separate incidents involving police and Kuhn this year. The most recent happening last week when police were called to his home for a welfare check. Residents last night speaking out about the situation.
You failed to protect the integrity of our city a couple of months ago when you had options which you chose not to take. You failed to protect the people in the city, the taxpayers, when you took the easy way out by making the decisions that you did at that same time. You also failed Tim Coombs as a person. We championed all of these addiction programs in the city, and did anyone take the time? Did anyone take the time to do check-ins with Tim? Did anyone take the time to put together a program to make sure that he met the mandates that were put in front of him to get clean and sober?
At last night's meeting, the council did not decide on who should be acting city manager until a permanent one is chosen.